Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Interim Joint Committee on Economic Development and Workforce Investment. This is our third meeting of the interim. I'd like to welcome everyone that's here today. If you do have a cell phone, I would ask that you please just turn that to silent or vibrate as we do our business today. I know it is not, as Representative Truitt said, an Easter service. I am wearing the green seersucker today. It's also not St. Patrick's Day, but I figured it's right before Labor Day. And my fashionable wife told me you better get one more wear in before Labor Day arrives. So I always listen. That is correct. Thank you all so much for being here. And if you, Ms. Secretary would please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Funky Fromeyer, Senator Gardler, Senator Harper Angel, Senator Howell, Senator Mills, Senator Storm, Senator Thomas, Senator Wheeler, Senator Wilson, here. Representative Baker, here. Representative Bauman, Representative Branscombe,
here.
Representative Bratcher, Representative Callaway,
here.
Representative Elliott, Representative Gentry, Representative Hart,
here.
Representative Huff,
here.
Representative Jackson,
Present.
Representative King,
Present.
Representative Kulkarni, Representative Lawrence,
Present.
Representative Lockett,
Present.
Representative Pratt, present. Representative Rorks,
Here.
Representative Sharp, Representative Tackett Lafferty, Representative Truitt,
Here.
Co-Chair Wise,
Present.
Co-Chair Weber.
Here. We do have a quorum, duly constituted to do business today. We do need to approve our minutes from the July meeting. Of those, motion made by my co-chair, second by Representative Truitt. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please do so by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We have a robust agenda for today, and I'm going to allow my friend and my co-chair of the committee in the Senate, Senator Wheeler, if he'd make his way to do the introductions today of the guests that are here. Coming from Project Heart, and this is dealing with healthcare employment around regional training. Senator, sorry to make you do musical chairs there this morning. Exactly.
Always a servant to my constituents. No, Mr. Chair, it's a true honor to be here today with several colleagues and friends of mine from my home county, Pike County, Kentucky, as well as my hometown, Pikeville. Donovan Blackburn, Reed Adkins, and Eric Blackburn are definitely community leaders who are making a difference back home. I grew up in the city of Pikeville, and for much of my youth and early adult life, Donovan, prior to his position as CEO, served as our city manager for the city of Pikeville, and I personally witnessed the growth and the modernization of my hometown and the strides that it made under his leadership, and it's great to see him doing similar, the same things at Pikeville Medical Center. The growth and really the innovation are something that, as senator representing the area, makes me proud, and also as a homeowner and a business person in the community, I'm very grateful for his leadership. The same thing about Reed Adkins, who is the superintendent of the Pike County school system. Not a better leader, public education leader in Eastern Kentucky to work with. I think if you look, Pike County is traditionally one of the best performing public school systems in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, with multiple schools that have achieved great recognition from their colleagues. I know that Reed is respected not only amongst the people in his community, but has made a great name for himself across the state. Amongst his colleagues, and we're grateful for the type of leadership and example that he sets, not only for people in public education, but also for the youth of Eastern Kentucky. Project Heart, that is a collaboration between these leaders, is really something that I think can serve as a model for the rest of the state. Bringing people into the healthcare industry where we have such a significant need, getting these people focused early on to look at the opportunities as well as the really giving them an ability to serve their fellow man in one of the more impoverished regions of the state that not only provides a sound basis for a workforce to increase the tax base and provide good jobs where people can stay at home, but make sure that people in the community get the quality health care that they need, world-class health care that, not only do we get in Louisville and Lexington, but we're now seeing that right at home to where they don't have to travel. So it's a true honor to be here with them, to introduce them here today, and I'm grateful to you, Mr. Chairman, for giving them the opportunity to explain this program and to show what type of leadership and leaders that we have in Eastern Kentucky in public education.
Thank you, Senator Wheeler. Gentlemen, I'll turn the floor over to you. If you would just introduce yourselves for the record, you may proceed.
Dr. Reed Aggins. I'm superintendent of Pike County Schools.
Donovan Blackburn. I'm the president and CEO for Blackburn. I'm the senior vice president.
If you don't care on your microphones, you'll see a button there to push. Just turn green. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Eric Blackburn. I'm the senior vice president and chief legal officer at Pikeville Medical Center, where I have the distinct pleasure to also oversee the human resources and workforce development activities, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, there we go. Mr. Chairman and committee members, and certainly Senator Wheeler, it's certainly our privilege and honor to be here today. And I'm going to apologize right off the bat because you'll notice my speech isn't the best right now. I had some orthodontic work done, and I have a metal plate up in the roof of my mouth, so some of my language isn't quite coming across as normally as clear as it would. But I certainly appreciate the opportunity to share the table today with these distinguished gentlemen, and likewise with Senator Wheeler. I appreciate the kind words, but it's amazing the work that he has done for our community over the years, and he's been a deep, not only friend of mine in the hospital, but certainly to his constituents, so we appreciate the kind introduction and certainly the invitation. I've been the president CEO now for Pikeville Medical Center for about 6 years, and as it was mentioned before, that I served 13 years as the city manager of Pikeville. So Pikeville Medical, as you see the photo on the PowerPoint slide, I have about 3,100 employees. I'm the single largest employer, and I'm a regional facility accepting patients from over 45 different hospitals across the region with a higher level of care. And I also have the privilege and the honor of serving on the Kentucky Hospital Association's board of directors on their executive committee also, and have been very engaged with them on workforce development. So as you look across the country, in a recent article that came out, and I know each of you know these statistics because during the last session you have shown hospitals across the region your commitment to helping address this workforce crisis. But Becker's recently article came out, showed that from nursing alone by the year 2027, a shortfall nationally of 450,000 nurses. And we look at Kentucky with the recent study that came out that I know most of you have had access to, of over 6,000. So this is an issue as the number one employer throughout Eastern Kentucky that we are seeing. As the coal industry, the demise of the industry, healthcare kind of rose to the top. And not only healthcare from our perspective, but offering a quality of care, utilizing partnerships with hospitals like ARH and the University of Kentucky and others. So if you'll indulge me, I've got a pretty quick PowerPoint that I'll go through and kind of explain what we've done to kind of address this. And when I mentioned KHA, the Kentucky Hospital Association, we're working directly with them to take our program HEART, which is the acronym for Healthcare Employment or Healthcare Education, you can go either way, around regional training to address the healthcare crisis specifically within our region, but we see other hospitals and communities also starting to adopt this. So again, if you'll indulge me, I'll go through this fairly quick and then try to get to questions and then let the superintendent answer as well. So again, I talk about Pike County's industry as a coal industry demise, and these are small print, but we'll kind of circle it for you. Healthcare within Eastern Kentucky, we represent 17.5% of the total economy. Go ahead. There you go, keep going. And then you go to retail trade, which is 14, and the disparity between the wages is what I'm trying to represent there. So when you look at the number 2 industry in Eastern Kentucky, it's retail, then followed by education at 13.2%. So go ahead. So when you look at the city of Pikeville, of course, being the county seat for the largest geographic county in the state of Kentucky, we represent 49.8% of the city's total occupational tax. and then also 27% of Pike County's total wages of over $227 million in investments, wage investment within our area. So as I mentioned earlier, Becker's review came out with 450,000 nurse fall, which was very alarming. I wrote several letters a couple of years ago knowing that this was coming, looking for ways to try to get ahead of it, and there's where Project Heart was developed. Okay. So when you look at our region, and this is what you see, especially in rural hospitals across the state of Kentucky, is that the educational infrastructure simply wasn't there to try to keep up with the trends. So as you can imagine, we have 3,100 employees. We have about 900 nurses. And this is a kind of a busy PowerPoint, but it speaks to why we're in the crisis that we're in today. So if you look at 2017, the national attrition rate for nurses at pre-COVID was about 17%, a little over 17%, which means if you can do the math, any given year I'm going to need 150 nurses within my organization. You can see in 2017 in the city of Pikeville, between the University of Pikeville, Big Sandy, which did not have a nursing program through KCTCS, and ANU, which had one that was, as you can see in 2017, they only had 7 students in the program with a 71% pass rate. So when you add up all the nursing seats that were in just the city of Pikeville, again, representing the largest business, there was only 37 nurses that passed their boards that year at the bottom of the screen. When you look at 2018, it was 33, 2019, 41, 2020, 36, and 2021, 48. So we had to change that mentality, working with the universities, and we actually built several schools, which you'll see here in just a moment, that the hospital actually built, working with government and some of the legislation that you all helped pass. We have been able to bolster that up. So again, back at this time, we had about 80 nursing seats. Compared to today, we have 315 nursing seats that are active. Now, the issue is how do you fill those seats? Go ahead. So we came up again with Project Heart, which healthcare employment around regional training. And you'll see on the stage is the event that we had launching this project and all the different partnerships, because what this is about creating talent pipeline, but using partners within the region to help us get there. So I mentioned that the nursing school expansion, we had expansion with the University of Pikeville. Their enrollment went from 60, when I first started, it was 30, to currently 120. And of course, with the percentage they're allowed to go above, they have currently about 147 students in the program. Pike, Big Sandy Community and Technical College, part of the KCTCS system. I took a building that we had. We actually used my construction team. We used a grant that we received, and we built them a facility. And now they have 45 new nurse seats available, of which their first cohort just graduated this past November. And then Galen College of Nursing, we were able to bring in with an LPN program. And the beauty of this program and what I structured it to do with these partners is, along with ANU, is to each cater to a different group. So when you look at the University of Pikeville, they have a very high admittance requirement set, and then there's a fellowship program that we partner with them. Big Sandy, their entry-level tuition rate's a little lower, so we're able to target a different type of traditional student. To where Galen, the average age of their nurse is 31 years of age or older, and it's an LPN program, which gives them the opportunity of creating a bridge to actually go into one of the other 4-year programs. And then also you've got ANU, I'm sorry, 2-year programs is what I meant. And then you've got ANU, who again caters to the more non-traditional students. So this again allows us to cater to traditional, non-traditional, LPN, and then the more traditional all the way around. Okay. So then we developed and customized, and working with KCTCS, a program through the TRAINS program, which through EKSEP, working with them as well, offer, I think it was a $450,000 grant, to where we have actually somebody internally that we wrote the curriculum and we work through them. So we hire people off the streets where we pay them a wage that the TRAINS program paid. They went through anywhere between an 8 to 14-week training program. They came out as a certified or a patient care tech, medical office technician, pharmacy technician, certified nursing assistant, phlebotomist, and RBT, several. So you've got now, again, graduates that are coming straight out of school that did not pursue the college career pathway, that's going through vocational training, that's making anywhere between $14 to $16 an hour with great benefits, which help really fill that gap. And then also in working with Reed and Greg May, bringing education, healthcare, and drug rehab treatment facility all together and creating a new vocational school, which I'll let Reed talk about that in a little bit, that has a major healthcare component to it. And then also we're able to launch paramedic programs and EMT through this program as well. And then we created, realizing that we needed to create programs and working with higher ed, we needed to be able to create a funnel of getting the students into the program. So we started working with Big Sandy, creating the My Future Fridays, working with them and going in and working with the 7th grade, 6th grade, and 8th grade students, getting them acclimated to what healthcare is. A lot of different programs. I won't take a lot of the time because I know we were kind of short, and what all that we do with them. But this gives them the opportunity to get the introduction and getting excited and being mentored in the healthcare profession, because what we see across the state is, though we have X amount of seats, you get somebody in, you got a high dropout rate, because a lot of students, it's not the curriculum as much as it is about what they have to do as part of that curriculum. They're not used to touching or being involved with blood or et cetera, et cetera. So we lose a lot of students to that. So we also, I serve on SOAR, Shaping Appalachian Region. I was one of their founding members when I was with the city. But in working with them, we also developed the Appalachian Nursing Academy and the Regional Healthcare Fair that's held at the Expo Center. And then this year they did a second one actually in Prestonsburg. So again, it's bringing students from all throughout the region, getting them acclimated to what professions and opportunities are available. You were passed out, I believe, as you came in, a booklet that we put together that's now being used throughout the state. The Kentucky Hospital Association is trying to duplicate it. And what you'll see in that book is this is what we pass out to these groups, is that it has all these different positions that's available, a QR code to where they can see the pathway. It talks about the core requirement. It talks about the way the hourly rate is. And more important, we actually go into the schools to create data, a database that we then have that information where we can target those students and give them a career pathway and tie them to whichever school that would best suit their needs. And we'll talk about that in just a moment, and about a new app that we're getting ready to launch. Okay. And then again, it's all in numbers. I'm a data-driven person. So when you look at the number of students we went to in just Pike County, we had 728 respondents. What was interesting is when I went to the president of UPike, and he's a good friend of mine, Dr. Burton Webb, Bert said, Donovan, the problem with nursing is that we can't get students interested in nursing. And I said, well, are you going to the students? You can't just wait for them to come to you. And he said, no, we don't want to expand the program because there's just not interest. Right after I had that conversation, I contacted Reed, which gave us access to the school. And as you can see by those that participated, and you'll notice that on that chart, though, if you drop down to nursing, you can look at all the different fields that are available. You notice that we had 340 students at the end of our program that raised their hand and said that we want to be an RN. All of a sudden, the president called me from the university and said, whatever you're doing, stop doing it, because now they're lined around the block. And and I say this in jest because he really wanted the students to help students. But he laughed. He said, because under the new legislation that was passed, if I can't provide a nursing seat, then I have to refer them to my neighboring school, which I said is exactly the way it was supposed to work. So congratulations and thank you all for that. It has really changed the landscape. So when we look at Project Heart and our achievements, again, just 3 years ago in our community, we only had a total of 80 healthcare seats, allied health. I've been a huge advocate and proponent. I've been here to Frankfurt several times, speaking to various leadership along with KCTCS. And with the work we've done by bringing in 4 different nursing schools, we went to a total of 315 nursing seats, CNA seats just in Pikeville, and Reed can talk about what he's done in a moment. We have 50 seats. Rad Tech seats, we've now got 26, which is phenomenal, because that's a problem with healthcare, is these 2-year programs in rural communities. Typically in the past, we've been forced to recruit from outside. The problem with that is now with the healthcare rates, those employees now have come back to once they once came. So recruiting from somebody from Lexington or Ashland or Charleston, even outside the area, they've now gone back to their home community, which has left us vulnerable. So by creating seats within the community and recruiting within the community, if they're from there, you train them there, you give them the opportunity there, they're going to stay there. So it's worked out very well. Rad Tech, medical tech seats, 35, respiratory seats, 30. I also serve on K-Beam's board of directors, and paramedic is a major issue for the state of Kentucky right now. We actually have 32 new paramedic seats that are opening up this year, so we're extremely excited about that, along with EMT, working with the local fire department, and paramedic seats as well. Next. So when you look at, again, as I said a moment ago, we went from only having 80 healthcare seats to right now we have 550 seats just in the city of Pikeville. So the question is how do you fill those seats? Next. So we created the Workforce Innovation Center. This is a building that we have. We received a federal grant for part of it. We've put up most of the money along with the facility. We've made significant investments, and I've committed staff to it to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. So when you look at, and that's a background, you'll see that there's cathedral seats in the background. It's really nice, got a stage, a lot of technology for us to be able to broadcast as well. So we brought in teacher focus groups also because we also wanted to know what we needed to do with the students to get them more engaged. One of the things that's not on the slide that I felt we were talking about before this session is that what's been very upsetting to us to a degree, because it was partly our responsibility, is the lack of knowledge within the communities of how many type of opportunities there are for students to pursue. So one of the things we actually did was we brought in all the student counselors from all, not just Pike County, all the surrounding counties into my boardroom. We probably had about 50 in there, and we went around the room, and not one of them understood that all these programs that we're talking about was available. And by the time they left with this book, they were all so excited and engaged. The second book that you have there is actually a tutorial, a guideline that we utilize for our teachers now within the school system, that they utilize, that they can schedule to bring their students to the Workforce Innovation Center, which we do. So we attack it all the way from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. And that's what we brought the teachers in for, to say, okay, how do we engage? How do we get them focused? And how do we then create a pathway to get them where they need to go? And that's when we start working with the students. So we went to the high school students. We talked about the number of jobs. We talked about the salary, all the things that have got them excited. Because imagine now a high school student's able to come out. You can go to ANU, for example, which has an accelerated program. 18 months you can become a rad tech and RN, and 18 months of an accelerated program. And we, as a hospital, we pay your tuition for the most part to do that. So then you graduate high school at a minimum of a $29 an hour job if you pass your board with full benefits. And then we actually go into the 6th and 8th grades with career exploration with the school career fairs. Again, thanks to our partners and the Challenger Learning Center, we're a big part of that, and My Future Fridays. So you'll see students actually there, and you'll notice that they're at tables actually touching the equipment to get them engaged. A phlebotomy, laboratory, rad tech, all these things. We've got these stations that are set up with experts in the room that actually lets them hands-on touch these different components, and they come back time and time, and then we mentor them. We even went, I don't think we have it on the slide, we even go into kindergarten classes where we actually bring the kindergartners scrubs. So we put up scrubs and caps and gowns on them, and we get them an introduction, not to be afraid. And we actually have some of our pediatricians that come in and interact with those students as well. Okay. 9th and 12th, and I won't go through all these, but you can see these are what we do through the 9th through 12, the career fairs, the classes. We do the shadowing, all the things that we're talking about. We also work with programs like JAG, which has been very beneficial as well. And then the catalog, which I mentioned, you have in front of you. So then we work beyond the classroom also with things like a medical academy, college visits. We actually have we have three different teams, one in HR, one in recruitment, one for workforce innovation. You notice on the far right there's a schoolmate app. So BitSource, which is a homegrown company, and Rusty Justice and Lynn, who own this wonderful software technology development company that develops apps as well. They've done work throughout all the country. Is in the process of developing a new app for us. Where they're probably halfway through it, but what the purpose of the app will be is to be able to turn over to high school students. They'll be able to upload, and again, it allows them to answer certain questions about their interest, and then it tells them what their prerequisites needs to be as they go through school. It will then target them to the different schools in the system that says this is a school that teaches RadTech, for example. It allows us for database, gets their contact information, and then we share that with the school that allows them to engage that student then for a pathway forward. And it keeps them engaged again with the rates and all those things that are available for them to get them excited about being part of healthcare. Okay. And then we do actual classroom visits in college also at the university. So it's not just about going to the high school. It's also we're now engaging college students that have a science background that may want to pursue one of our financial opportunities, that we would put them in possibly an MLT program for 2 years. So it gives them opportunities of pursuing. There's a saying that in the hospital you can ask any executive that I use frequently, and it is that you fish where the fish are. So the intent is to go and you show where the career opportunities are, so that not only can they advance, but they can make investments and stay at home in doing so. And then we talk about, I already kind of covered the Schoolmate app, and these are the 4 primary colleges, though we do work with other colleges within the region also, or technical schools, but these are our primary partners. Okay. I mentioned the trainings program already, and then I mentioned the funding mechanism is that these students are actually paid as they're being trained, and then as they graduate the program and pass their, whether it's a certification or just train, then they rise to that higher rate, which again I think is a minimum of around $14 for the very lowest position that runs through the trainings program, all the way up to $20 an hour. And then we have our recruitment team. That's two of our gentlemen, recruitment. Christian Hagee leads that department. But as you can see, we make high school visits, college visits, and then the traditional recruitment. We actually advertise and bring in non-traditional students, potential students within the community, to give them the opportunity to learn about these programs also, and to also discuss our financial, the things that are available to them to pursue a financial pathway. So when you look at the number of top positions that our students are interested in, as you can see, these are also the various positions that almost every hospital in the state of Kentucky right now throughout the nation are having major issues in: RN, LPN, medical lab tech, rad tech, and respiratory therapy. Okay. And then we not only created the seats, we created the facilities, we created the curriculum, we created the mechanism to fill the workforce. Then we realized we have to create the educational assistance. So currently at Pikeville Medical Center, we look at what we're actually paying out in travel fees. So, and I use the example of last April. Last April alone, the number of travel nurses in my hospital, with 900 nurses, I had close to 200. It cost me $4 million that month in additional expense in 1 month. So making these investments just made sense, which is why HRIP is so important right now to help us overcome the crisis that we're facing, is to be able to reinvest those dollars back into the community, in this case, in students that will be there long term. So as you can see, we offer a $20,000 3-year agreement for a 3-year commitment for an RN, an LPN $2,500 for 1-year agreement, an RN bridge up to $20,000, a $10,000 for MLT. And when you look at the 2-year programs, this covers almost all of their tuition fee in conjunction with what scholarships that they will receive. And then when they actually come to work, there's an opportunity for a retention bonus also when they start at that higher rate. Okay. So I already mentioned the college recruitment. We do a lot of things in those various fields that you see there as well. But one of the big things, too, that's a selling point next is our benefits. So when you look at benefits, PMC was ranked as one of America's best in state employers, and part of that is because we have an absolutely unbelievable benefits package. So you can imagine, again, being in Eastern Kentucky, we have a lot of employees that come to work for us at $11.25 an hour, that their benefit package is worth more than what their wage is. It's because we pay, again, a $10 copay. If they go into the hospital for a procedure, they come out owing nothing. If they have a child, they owe nothing. So this benefit package offers medical, life, long-term disability, a retirement plan, and a lot of other benefits that our employees absolutely love. We're able to do that for employees because they're phenomenal. They are truly healthcare heroes, but it also keeps them employed. And then I already mentioned we have our sign-on bonuses for our RN staff. As you can see, that's the different bonuses dependent upon the longevity of the time that they agree to commit to us. The unique thing is, too, I should mention, is that in our contract agreement is that when a student enters into the program and they sign one of our retention bonuses, we have X amount of time to interview them and to hire them once they pass their boards. And I think it's 60 days. So after 60 days, if we choose not to hire that individual once they pass their board, they don't pay that back. They're free to go to work for any other healthcare provider in the state. So we don't tie them just to us. We tie them to us if we want to offer them a job after they graduate or after they pass their board. So we also have tuition assistance program internally. So we offer our own pathway. So you may have somebody that works in our cafeteria, for example, that we give them time and we give them tuition assistance for not only them, but for any of their family members in their immediate family to help them go through school. And we actually have several employees and several of their family members that are pursuing that pathway currently. So when you look at overall recruitment, the proof's in the pudding with what you all did, and at the top of what we've done with this program, as you can see from 2022, and I don't have this past month's numbers, we've been able to hire 359 employees through this program. So we are able to solve our healthcare issues by workforce shortages through a program. Now, take note that we have not seen our first major class graduate yet. So within the next year is when really, truly we're going to see the huge benefit of everything that the investments that we've made. And then we also do job fairs for the community. Matter of fact, we just had one this weekend. We had people lined around the building to enter into not only these programs, but currently other programs that we have available. And like most hospitals, currently I have about 400 job openings as of today. In your packet, I mentioned the PMC Heart booklet that we created. This is also a website, PMC Jobs. You can learn about most everything that I'm just talking about here today, as along any other prospective student or employee up on our pmcjobs.org website. And then, as I mentioned, when you talk about healthcare and offering a expanded healthcare, especially in Eastern Kentucky, unfortunately, the region that I serve leads the nation in cancer rates, pulmonary disease, heart disease. Almost every disease you can think about are my patients. My patients have a higher level of acuity. They're harder to get out of the hospital. They have a longer length of stay. So when we talk about healthcare, healthcare is extremely important to those that you serve in Eastern Kentucky. But it's also a huge economic driver. Again, I talked about the economic impact that we had at the beginning of this slide. When we look at making smart investments and incentives, creating technical educational career opportunities, distribution of wealth, it all impacts our region in such a healthy way. So healthcare is our economy, which is why that I appreciate the time that you're giving us here today. So I will turn it over to Mr. Reed.
I would like to start by saying thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today, Senator Wise and the rest of the panel. I would also like to thank the legislators for recognizing the need for vocational education in Eastern Kentucky. I am on the SFCC Board of Control, and over the last few years, a lot of money has went back to Eastern Kentucky for vocational education. One of the reasons for that, and I'll get into a little bit of the history, we all know with the downturn of coal, it really hit Eastern Kentucky very hard. So vocational education is where it's at for us in relation to trying to get our community back and trying to retain our talent. A tremendous amount of our talent moved to Central Kentucky, several others into Georgia and Alabama looking for work. And really it was some of our most talented people, some of our blue-collar people, and it's really hit our community very hard. To give you an example, I looked at the numbers. At the beginning of the school year in 2013, Pike County Schools had 9,200 kids. We started this year with 7,250. So in a decade, we've lost 1,950 kids, over 20% of our population. And those are some of our best and brightest because they were seeking work, seeking jobs. So the fact that the legislators are looking at this and understanding that we need help, you're putting your money where your mouth is, and we really appreciate that. We really do. We are going to, at the new vocational school, keep all of our current programs. Our current programs are automotive, electricity, HVAC, and industrial maintenance. We're working diligently with KDE to make sure that we're meeting all criteria that's needed to keep those programs intact. But the exciting thing and the big thing is with Project Heart, we are adding several medical programs. Donovan touched on several of those medical programs. A couple that I think are going to be really neat are like a medical assistant. Donovan, what would a medical assistant start out at?
I'll refer to my expert.
So those positions start out in the high teens.
Yeah, that is an opportunity for a kid coming out of high school to be able to raise a family, to be able to feed a family, to be able to stay in Eastern Kentucky, which is what most Eastern Kentuckians want to do. So we feel like with this program, we're going to be able to give our kids that chance. That's what we want to do. To give you an example of some of the things we've already done, we've already doubled our CNA, our Certified Nurse Assistant program. In each of our high schools, I have 5 high schools, we had 15 slots for a total of 75. Now we've doubled that up to 150 slots. And as Donovan said, what that does, that allows these kids to get involved with the program and realize whether or not they actually want to be in patient care. Do they actually want to handle blood? Do they actually want to handle urine? Because that's a real thing. A lot of our kids think they want to be a doctor. They think they want to be a nurse till they actually get in there and start doing these things, and they realize this may not be what I want to do. The good news for them, though, is with Donovan being such a large employer, there are several areas in the hospital kids can work and not actually be in patient care. They can work in HR, they can work in IT, they can work. I know my wife runs several of Donovan's clinics, and she needs a receptionist in the worst kind of way. So there's other opportunities for kids out there, and that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that our kids have every opportunity to stay there and raise a family if that's what they choose to do. We feel like this vocational school is going to give them that opportunity. To give you a feel-good story, my niece Abby, she's a very intelligent girl. She graduated this year. She was in the CNA program. She now is enrolled in nursing school, and she's dead set on being a nurse. She already knows what that entails, and that's just one of many. Talking to Donovan yesterday, one of our quarterbacks who was a great athlete, college athlete, he's a nurse now. That removes the stigma for boys. A lot of boys are a little bit leery about wanting to go into nursing. Well, he'll be a poster child for Donovan on it's okay to do this, So a lot of really exciting things are happening. They really are, and we really feel like that we're on the right track. We feel like this program will be a pilot, not only for Eastern Kentucky and Kentucky, but the nation as a whole. When you look at the partnership with River Place, the drug rehabilitation facility, that facility will be using this vocational school in the evenings to train drug rehabilitation patients. It will be giving them an opportunity to get back into the workforce. It will give them an opportunity to be removed from the situation that they were in, because if you put them back in that same situation, they're going to fall back into that same category many, many times. So we feel like when you look at the overall opportunity here, this will be a pilot. Not only for Kentucky, but also the nation as a whole. And this time I'll open the floor up for questions or comments.
The only thing that I'll add to that is that at the highest level, what we're really trying to do is three things. First, expand the healthcare educational opportunities in our region, and that takes partnerships and collaboration with our higher education institutions. The second thing is we have to get the word out. So we have multiple forms of outreach, which also requires partnerships with school systems so that we can access those students, let them know what is now available for them. And then, since we all know that education can be expensive, the third prong is that we assist that student with that cost. If we could do those three things, we drastically improve our workforce situation.
Thank you all. Thank you so much for the presentations. Excellent overview. Open it up for some questions here from members. Representative Gentry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you guys for being here. This sounds great. I had a brief question with two sectors of people related to. You've kind of hit on addicted people and re-entry and that sort of thing. That's great to hear. The other question of a sector of people is there anything or any work or efforts being done in looking at Kentuckians with disabilities and getting involved in the workplace at all, or any statistics in the Pikeville area regarding that? And if you want to comment on that at all, I'd be very appreciative.
Yeah, so I don't know that I can quote specific statistics off the top of my head. Certainly we are and always have been an equal opportunity employer, and we accommodate persons with disabilities in every way that we can, and there's not a lot of silver linings, to a workforce shortage. But one of those potential silver linings is that some of those things that may have been an issue in the past, we no longer have the ability to do that, right? So we need people. All hospitals need people, and so certain barriers that may have existed in the past have a tendency to naturally fall away. And I think that is one silver lining, right? There are certain programs that are upcoming conferences that I know we're planning to be a part of that are sponsored by various groups specifically directed at individuals with disabilities. And so we look forward to our participation in that and the opportunity to actually expand those opportunities to accommodate those persons. Same for the second chance or reentry programs. We all know that in our part of the state that has been an issue, and that those individuals have challenges to employment. So we're excited to be working with the new vocational school, which is located right beside a residential facility. So we'll have county school children mostly during the day, but in the evenings there'll be the opportunity for adult education, which will include their next door neighbor at the individuals at River Place so that they can start on that path to reentry. And research really shows that the ability to gain employment is a significant factor in maintaining that long-term sobriety. So we are looking at both groups.
Non-GED, somebody that doesn't have a high school diploma.
Yeah. So we also have individuals maybe that don't have a high school diploma. So we also assist them in obtaining their GED, which that can be done completely free of charge to any individual in the Commonwealth.
Thank you for that. And if I could just add one very quick comment, Mr. Chair, thank you. Speaking from a position of somebody that has a disability and competes in the workforce every day, I can tell you that one of the biggest keys is self-confidence and self-esteem. And as a nation, we're getting a lot better with that, a lot more awareness with that in so many different areas. But that is really vital, and I can understand from a reentry standpoint with those issues, probably a lot of similarities to that. And there's nothing that builds self-confidence and self-esteem more than being able to accomplish something on your own without assistance. And we have a famous saying, "I can too, please let me." So anytime at all that you can, now with people with disabilities, there's several other layers of complexity. I understand you have a variety of different types of impairments that, different challenges. Certain individuals have a lot stronger impairments than others. They might be limited in what, how they can fit into a workplace. And there are many others that aren't on any kind of government assistance program, not really counted real well. In some of these areas, some of these individuals really struggle a lot mentally. It's not the physical disability as much as the mental disability. I've told people I've now been one-armed for 30 years, and I will tell you that it's not even close. My biggest challenge has always been mental more than the physical disability. And I've been fortunate enough that I was surrounded with the right people, had good opportunities, and been successful at things that I have done in the past. But it's very, very important to be able to provide opportunities because people can do a lot of things that if we don't live in that world, we're kind of blown away by what people can do when they believe in themselves and they have that self-confidence and that self-esteem. And we always try to promote any kind of individuality when we can do something and take advantage of an opportunity. It's incredible, not only what it does for that individual, but here's the key: everybody around them gets inspired
Absolutely.
by their accomplishments. And that's what we're seeing in workforces all over the country now, in businesses where they're hiring people and they're coming in. And now all of a sudden, 90% of the workforce who has their bitches and complaints about whatever little thing in their life that we all like to complain about on a daily basis becomes very minuscule because you're inspired by that individual that you see that has a lot larger challenges than yourself. So anything you guys can do to help promote. And another complexity, and I'm sorry, I'm rattling on. I swear I'll get done real quick here. But another issue is many of these people that are on government assistance programs and get a small amount of money, they're scared to death to give that up. There's different types of regulation with these programs that say if you make so much employment, then you're going to lose this nest egg, so to speak, in their mind, and it's more difficult to inspire them to say, hey, if you get to this point over here, you're going to be so glad you did that, and it's difficult to have those conversations and move in that direction, but it's just another layer of complexity. And again, anything you guys can do to work in that area would be very appreciative.
Just a quick response is that Eric told you what we're doing to try to address those specific needs, but also we recognize exactly everything that you're saying. As a community and as a organization, nonprofit organization built upon Christian principles, we recently also opened our Appalachian Valley Autism Center. So I now lead the single largest ABA center in the nation with over currently 100 students in the program that are on the spectrum, which was led it's the Appalachian Valley Autism Center acronym, the AVA Center. The inspiration is my granddaughter, who is on the spectrum and was the first student in the program, and was the first graduate in the program, and is now doing extremely well. But as we know, a lot of these we label as disabilities. They're not disabilities. They're simply different abilities that we have to open up a doorway to try to find a way to build confidence and make a pathway forward. So we are committed.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We like to refer to them as adaptive workers.
Thank you, Representative Gentry.
Through discussion with Tim Robinson and Greg May with ARC, they actually have placed now 31 people in a Toyota subsidiary that have been trained in automotive, which goes back to your point. It goes back to confidence, one of which now is making six figures. So certainly, to your point, that they need that confidence in order to re-enter the workforce. So.
Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Thank you. I have a question and a comment. You know, I do represent a small part of Pike County. Very proud to represent Pike County. I also represent all of Floyd County, and I know that Pikeville Medical Center probably hires, you're probably one of the biggest employers in Eastern Kentucky, probably hires almost 500 people in Floyd County alone, aside from the part of Pike County that I represent. How many counties do you pull from in employment? How many different counties do you affect where you provide employment to their residents?
We currently have employees from 32 different Kentucky counties that work at PMC. You know, our partners, ARH, between the both of us, we have about 10,000 employees in Eastern Kentucky. And to your point, you're about spot on. Floyd County being our adjacent neighboring county, we employ right about nearly 500 employees there as well. Our service area is about 450,000 residents offering a higher level of care. And again, you know, ARH seems to be, a lot of people put us in a position of competitors. We're not. The type of hospital ARH is our number one transfer center is from ARH. So they're actually our biggest customer as well. And Holly Phillips, the CEO there, is a good friend of mine. So we recognize and appreciate those that we're able to serve. And also my representative that I get the opportunity to vote for each year. So thank you.
Thank you very much. But I would like to make a comment. The decline of the coal industry, of the shift that we saw in our population leaving, they had to leave to find comparable employment. We appreciate the healthcare industry for stepping up and trying to fill those shoes. It was recently announced is going to be a huge factor when it comes to the growth of Eastern Kentucky and helping to drive the economy throughout the mountains. But a lot of folks don't realize the growth that we've already seen. For instance, Pikeville College has grown into the University of Pikeville. The University of Pikeville has one of 3 medical colleges in the state, UK, Louisville, and UPike. They not only have the medical college, they have the optometry school.
In order to successfully complete their educational pathway and segue into employment. Our division is tasked with innovations and rapid response programs. So I'll give a great example. We saw in the last presentation that not every nurse who sits through their program can pass the NCLEX. My husband is an RN, and I watched him study for the NCLEX, and I can tell you right now that there is no way I could pass the NCLEX. It is a very difficult exam. Seeing what those pass rates looked like in the Commonwealth, our Executive Director of Healthcare Programs, Dr. Kelly Selvage, put forward a proposal to create a rapid response boot camp. That boot camp allowed us to recruit students not only from KCTCS programs who were not successful in passing the NCLEX, but across the state. In fact, Tanel's sister was one of those individuals who now has her RN as a result of having sat through that boot camp. It was a small pilot program, but the proof of concept is there. And so that we were able to offer free of cost as a result of revenue that we generate through customized training. These are the types of things that we try to advance in our area in order to meet immediate needs, find that proof of concept, and then scale them to impact more individuals across the Commonwealth. We also offer concierge services towards employers. Not every company has the bandwidth that Pikeville Medical Center does. We are very grateful to have employers who are investing at that level, but without a dedicated and very well-versed HR department and a learning and development arm, it can be difficult for companies to know and understand how to navigate these options. Where do they fit on this spectrum of assisting students at all junctures of their journey to explore careers and to understand their options? What's their ROI for that investment? And so our team really has one foot in the door at business and industry, understanding their needs and helping them to navigate that system. And that means they may not be connecting those companies with KCTCS. It may be that because of their bandwidth, because of their human resource availability, there's a better fit elsewhere. It could be that we learn during outreach that this company is a second chance employer and they don't know anything about federal bonding opportunities. And so we really look for these individuals in our workforce and economic development teams to be very well versed in all of these assets within nonprofits, within the career centers, within the K through 12 system, to be able to effectively connect companies to those resources. Was there a question? Okay. Very quickly, we are very excited to be able to share with you all that coming this session, we will have first of its kind data on active employer partnerships. I know that this sounds like something we should already have. We are not behind the national trend on this data. Institutions across the country are really trying to figure out how they can map these relationships and better understand how to move companies from more transactional engagements, such as simply showing up at a career fair hoping to recruit students, to more transformational partnerships, the types of partnerships that you just heard about from Pikeville Medical Center, in which one of our colleges, Big Sandy Community and Technical, is an active partner. So far, we have 8 colleges reporting. We have identified what we are calling a transformational partnership, 267 in our workforce solutions divisions. That means those colleges are working hand in hand with a company on a mutually articulated and understood goal. This is not just showing up at a career fair, not just hiring our students on our employment platform. This is we are working together on an initiative or a project with key performance indicators and a timeline. Within our academics and student services units, we've identified 418 of those types of partnerships. Could be serving on an advisory committee, helping us to innovate curriculum. It could be assisting us with faculty recruitment, because as you might imagine, it is very difficult to convince a nurse to leave the floor of the hospital and come join us in the classroom. The pay is not comparable, but we can't generate more nurses in the pipeline unless we have those highest quality nurses on the floor also engaging with us in the education system. We work with companies to also rapidly lift up programs when there's areas of need. I started at KCTCS in 2020, and at that time, conversations were just underway with Jefferson Community and Technical College and LG&E to meet the needs of line technicians in that community. Within less than a year, we lifted up a program. LG&E was providing poles for the pole yard. They were providing instructor recruitment. They were providing mentorship. Most of those graduates, to date, we've had 150 since launching, are spoken for. They have job offers before they even complete the program. The last thing, and maybe the most important thing that you all will hear today, is earn and learn opportunities. More than 80% of students in the country are working while they're pursuing higher education. That means that we can't think of the finish line as crossing the stage, tossing your tassel to the other side, and then embarking on employment. Our students need opportunities to do both simultaneously. They need opportunities to earn wages while they're pursuing their pathway. And with that, I would like to pass it over to my colleague, Tanel, to tell you a little bit more about that space.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Jessie. At KCTCS, it is our mission to make sure that we are making sure we are a provider of premier talent in the Commonwealth by providing quality of life and economic vitality through employment success. So one of the things that you'll see here on the left side of the screen is a couple of options that we have provided to our students or are focused on to make sure that our students have development opportunities and also access to employers. Handshake, before Handshake, we just deployed that within the last year. Before that, we did not have a strategy to intentionally connect students to employers, and that's exactly what Handshake does, and also allows the opportunity for employers to say, we want to hire KCTCS students from across the state. I'll tell you a brief story about one of our students who presented at the Board of Regents. His name was Khalil. He has a disability. He's wheelchair bound, and he was looking to start his career in healthcare. He applied to this healthcare company twice prior to Handshake. And once we launched Handshake, he applied to that same healthcare company and got an interview and a job within 48 hours at the same healthcare company. So that's just the power of what Handshake does and how it's able to help our students to easily connect, whereas their maybe resume would have been overlooked otherwise. Aside from Handshake, we're also just committed to career exposure and career development. Career development being there's a lot of emphasis on early exposure. Let's expose middle school students. Let's expose high school students. But what we're really focused on is also that competence development. And as Representative Gentry mentioned, that confidence, helping them to build those pieces in order to obtain great jobs. It's oftentimes a misconception that students are, as soon as you get a college degree, that you immediately have a job. But sometimes there is a lack of understanding of what that industry alignment looks like. Or if you get into that job and recognize, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, but I don't like blood. Now what do I do? But if we're able to help students to build their skills, to build their confidence, to build their competencies, it's easier for them to see the alignment of what does that look like and what can my opportunities be with the credentials and the degree that I've already received. And so we really focus on three main pillars within that competent career development: exploration and exposure, competence development, as I mentioned, and then also access and attainment, which is Handshake, and also connection to employers through those enhanced employer partnerships. As Jesse mentioned, Earn and Learn is another way that we have really helped students to also maintain their employment while also, getting a credential and also earning a paycheck. Just yesterday, we launched Education First Employers, which is a talent attraction, retention, and development solution strategy for Kentucky businesses. What we do know through doing this research is that every year companies set aside billions of dollars for their employees to upskill or reskill through some type of educational attainment. And oftentimes those dollars are left on the table, over half of those. Through our Education First Employers, we have around 50 employers across the Commonwealth who have raised their hand to say, we want to make sure that Kentuckians are not only able to earn a living wage paycheck, but also have credentials along the way and develop a degree. But also these companies are making sure that through those companies, they have reported that there are over $3 million to date of dollars that are left on the table within those companies. We have 12 of those that reported. So 12 of those 50 reported that $3 million were left on the table each year of not looking at those benefits. Unless you need those benefits, most of those being healthcare, sometimes we often don't remember what those are. When is the last time you looked at, let me revisit what those benefits package was whenever I was hired. So we want to make sure that our students not only have that opportunity, but our employees across the Commonwealth remember, or also, it is showcased that they have those opportunities to also obtain a degree. There are over 600,000 Kentuckians with some level of credential but no degree. If we are able to already, those employees who are participating in the workforce, to upskill themselves and also obtain a degree, it will help us to make sure that we are moving workforce development and economic development forward as their trajectory is continued along their employment career. Jesse, if you don't mind to change that. So thinking about Education First Employers, what is the benefits for employers? There's a long list here, but what we really want to underscore is there an opportunity for our companies to not only have in developing their talent pipelines, but just enhancing those partnerships. Historically, from educator to employer, that partnership has looked like, please send me your talent. I know you have students. I know I have jobs open. Please send me your talent. But what we recognize is there has to be an equal responsibility, both for the employer and the educator, in order to make sure that workforce development continues to grow, so that employers not only help educators to understand what are the current workforce and industry trends, but also so that our educators can understand what do we need to be teaching in the classrooms, what do we need to offer our students in order for them to be top candidates whenever they go to apply and look for jobs. We also are committed to providing these companies with local education options for Kentuckians. I know oftentimes I grew up in Henderson, Kentucky, Kentucky, the immediate thing I knew is I'm not staying here. It didn't seem like there was options for me. But what we really want to underscore with Education First Employers that you can grow your own talent, and here's how. And making sure that our communities know that you don't have to leave in order to make a good amount of money, especially in order to support your families. And so in order to advance your careers, we want to make sure that we can grow our own talent. And also having trusted employees. Whenever employees know that they are valued and they are invested in, especially in this way, our employees stay at these companies and are loyal to these companies for a very long time. We will be maintaining data to make sure and track how these individuals are hired, their retention rates, and also their level of educational attainment across this initiative of Education First Employers. So this is just one of the many ways that we are really committed to the vitality of workforce development and also the relationship between educators and employers. And I'll pass it to Jesse to talk about how we offer customized training solutions for our Kentucky businesses as well.
Thank you, Tanel. There's one more point that I'd like to underscore. There's not a strategy in the Commonwealth to address the gap in the talent pipeline in which an individual decides they're going to stop out of their educational pathway. At the same time, the data is showing us somewhere between 5 and 10 years, most of the lower wage jobs, at many of these jobs, you can make $18, $20 an hour in fast food, but those are the jobs that are primed for automation. And so what we're looking at is 600,000 Kentuckians, as Tanel mentioned, who have some college but no credential, who are likely working in positions that are primed for automation. So if we don't develop some type of strategy to re-engage these individuals and upskill them for the jobs of today and tomorrow, we are going to have a very significant crisis on our hand that amplifies what we're already dealing with and having a huge population that is underskilled for the jobs of tomorrow. So 30% of our students who stop out, we send surveys and we ask, why did you stop out? Sometimes they don't know how their educational pathway aligns with career opportunities. And that's where the exposure and what's going on with Project Heart, that's why it's so important. But 30% every single semester at KCTCS cite financial or employment reasons. These companies, these 47 committed companies, are providing regional living wages and tuition benefits. We're going to solve that problem, and we're going to train faculty to have conversations with students who are struggling to say, what's going on? Why haven't you been in class? If that student responds and says, I'm working 3 jobs to feed my family while I'm trying to pursue this nursing pathway, we're going to get them connected to one of our healthcare partners in this network where they can not only gain skills, but not have to worry about balancing so many employment needs as they persist on their pathway. You've heard a lot about TRAINS already from our partners at Pikeville Medical Center. TRAINS is our legislative allocation, just above $4 million. And this year, we are going to be speaking to you at length about the need for additional TRAINS funding. We did not have a brand. We did not have a marketing or communication strategy for TRAINS for quite some time. I want to be very transparent about that. There was rollover year to year. And when I started at KCTCS, I had to go to some sort of a conference. And I said, well, where are all the TRAINS flyers? Where's my marketing materials? I can't show up at the conference without nice glossy flyers. And there weren't any. So my number one priority was to advocate for a marketing budget. We started marketing TRAINS. We started doing grassroots outreach so that our partners at career centers, anyone else who is doing business engagement in the same way that we can talk about their programs and resources, they can talk about TRAINS. We have seen monumental growth. The rollover has been exhausted. We have added in the last 3 fiscal years, 290 additional companies into our portfolio. TRAINS allows us to go in and serve small and medium-sized businesses as well who may not have the financial resources to upskill their current or new hires. And so we're able to sit down with them and look at what are the critical skills gaps. We create a rapid response just-in-time program for those companies, and then we deliver it on their time so that that company's operations are not interrupted as they are advancing the the skill set of their workers. Last year, we invested over $6 million, and we were able to do that because of the rollover. But by January, we were in a situation where we had to ask the colleges to scale back on the projects that they were writing because we were running very low on money in January. The colleges were very good stewards of those dollars, and they scaled back the project timeline. Typically, we look at 6 to 12 months for projects. We asked them to scale back quite a bit. Smaller projects, the companies weren't able to do the depth and breadth of training that they had originally intended, but we were still able to serve every single company that raised their hand and said, I can benefit from this, and I need assistance with this partnership. The numbers speak for themselves here. The other thing that I want to make you all aware of, every day we're seeing in the news more and more companies saying, we no longer require degrees. And it's more so bachelor's degrees. It's less about these short-term certificates and technical program credentials. But when employers are doing this and they're opening their candidate pool because they're so desperate for talent, they're bringing people on and they're realizing the technical skill gap is there. And if I don't have the bandwidth to upskill them quickly, I've made a bad hire in a desperate attempt to try to fill these positions. And I believe that's part of why not just the marketing, not just the partnership, cross-promotion of this program. I think part of this is the nationwide trend in opening those candidate pools that we're seeing this influx, and I expect that only to continue to grow. We also partner with economic development agencies, both local and at the state level, in order to provide commitments to new or expanding companies. As a result of your all's support for Senate Bill 5, we've been able to provide support for Blue Oval, as well as Envision, which are our 2 EV battery plants. Those are emerging industries, and they are going to require robust training and robust talent attraction, retention, and development plans. One of the challenges with Senate Bill 5, there was $5 million allocated, but the requirement, the threshold, was a $2 billion investment, and those are the only 2 qualifying projects that we've had in the Commonwealth. So there's still $3 million sitting there. It could be that we need to allocate some of this for continued expansion for those companies. We're not sure what the future will bring, as we're looking at about 7,500 individuals between these 2 companies alone, but more flexibility is necessary to help support some of these companies. And this is an expectation. When they land in a new state, they are expecting that there is some type of fully funded talent development program, and we want to be there as their partners in helping them navigate those challenges. So this is one last sort of overview of the last 3 years, the dollars that we allocated and used. Again, that fiscal year 21, that's where the challenge of not having a marketing and communication strategy for trains was really identified, and you can see the growth from fiscal year 21 to 22 and 23. We anticipate that if we had $10 million in trains funding, we could serve probably quadruple the number of businesses that we're currently serving. And moreover, our teams could get out to connect with more companies. Right now, if we're partnering with 1,000 companies, there's another 149,000 Kentucky companies that need help. They need a liaison, they need an advocate, they need someone who can help them navigate the system. And we can't do that without additional resources. And so I leave you with that. We are very, very proud of this growth within the Trains program and very grateful for the funding that we have. Thank you.
Very well done. Thank you so much. And thank you for your honesty and transparency about the past and where we are currently with Trains. Open up for a couple of questions. We have Senator Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate you all being here today. Myself and one of my representatives, Representative McCool, recently met with some representatives of the Tri-State Building Trades and Local 248 to talk about some of the opportunities for vocational education and expansion of opportunities for these types of learning this type of learning in eastern Kentucky, northeastern Kentucky, and southeastern Kentucky. I think Tri-State Building Trades represent over 22,000 people, and there's over 500 in the eastern and northeastern Kentucky region. One of the things they mentioned, I think they have some partnerships such as with the Ashland Community and Technical College campus where they're allowed to utilize some of their to engage in some of their apprenticeship and journeyman programs, which I was amazed when I saw what some of the benefit packages were, that, they could easily get a valued package for an apprentice. I think it was $24 an hour. For like a journeyman, it got close to $40 an hour. But one of the things I think they mentioned was that, they have some cooperation with the Big Sandy campus, but there seems to be a hesitancy in expanding that. And I think some of us in the area have seen that Big Sandy and Community and Technical College, in particular, is focused more on the, college side of it rather than the technical side of it. And nothing wrong with that in the sense that I'm not saying a college degree is not valuable. In many places, though, that is less profitable and marketable than the vocational degree. So what does the system plan to do to kind of maybe expand those opportunities, perhaps the cooperation with organizations like a Local 248 to expand the trade offerings and training operations in Eastern Kentucky, and particularly that campus?
Thank you. That's a great question. There are a lot of challenges that come with supporting our technical programs. Our academic programs greatly offset the cost for students of our technical programs. Faculty in those areas, to find a faculty in the skilled trades is equally as difficult as finding faculty for nursing. Advanced manufacturing is not any different. What we're really looking at right now, and separate comment, is the facilities. Keeping up to date with technology, space, it requires heavy investment. And what we're really trying to do in this asset map is identify what sectors are we currently truly partnered with and how can we advance those partnerships. The other piece to this is it truly is, I think, a shift in the way we think. It's a cultural shift. And that menu that Tanel showed in terms of how we are expecting our faculty and our staff across the system to promote employment success, that's going to require a shift in the mentality at KCTCS. We're going to have to be thinking about those employment outcomes, not just for technical programs. And you're right that the opportunities there are very, very viable, maybe more so than traditional academic degrees. But even if our students are intending to transfer, they need career exploration. Even if the goal is for that student to move on to University of Kentucky, University of Louisville, wherever they choose to go for that 4-year degree, if we haven't provided them career exploration and career exposure and opportunities to develop their skills, they're going to be behind their junior classmates when they get to those universities because they have had those opportunities. And so I think it's twofold. I think first, we have to address the fact that in traditional academic programs, I'm an English major. There's no English factory to go work at, right? And it was very difficult for me. I dropped out of my PhD program not wanting to be a professor, not having any idea what my options were, and could not find a job. We have to help students understand how the skills they're learning in academic programs translate to viable jobs. But we also have to be sure that those students are aware of these training programs more in the technical realm, that they understand their opportunities. And a lot of that is stigma. A lot of it is stigma and marketing and helping both parents and students understand these are great jobs and you can make a lot of money in doing that. Now, I can't speak for Big Sandy and what some of the challenges have been there, but I can promise you that I will look into it and provide more concrete details on what that partnership currently looks like and how it could expand.
Okay. Brief follow-up, if I may, Mr.
Very
Chairman.
brief. We have 3 behind you.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I get what you're saying, and I think that the fact that organizations like Local 248 who have members that are willing to step up and be those people to train these folks for these careers, maybe utilizing some of your facilities, is one way to do that and get a bang for your buck. And something that you said that does concern me a little bit is that the academic programs, at least the way it came out to me, is they're subsidizing the technical programs, which, by emphasizing those academic programs, I think a lot of times you're getting students into degrees. I had a history major and a German double major, also not things that generally there's a lot of market for, but get kids into a lot of debt that they're stuck with afterwards, whereas these trades, there's a lot of opportunities to get out of school with zero debt at all. And so I really think that the community and technical college system does need to focus more on getting these kids into careers where, they don't have a lot of debt hanging over their heads. And, and I think the other thing about it is I think a lot of people that go with the academic route sometimes have an entitled mentality, just like this student loan forgiveness. I had a guy recently tell me it cost me $100,000 to outfit my truck as an HVAC guy, but nobody's offering to pay off my truck and the debt that I take on to do that career. Yet we have all these people advocating for student debt forgiveness for degrees that really don't have a whole lot of economic viability. So I think that is your all's job at the community and technical college system to show these people what type of financial incentives are available going in and not necessarily leaving them holding the bag when they're coming out.
Thank you. We absolutely agree.
Chairman Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to talk for a moment about the dual credit program in relation to what we're discussing today in terms of workforce development. So as we've been sitting here in this committee meeting listening, I've been receiving some information from some folks, and I'm going to be honest, I'm a little alarmed over it. Some of it has to do, or not some of it, it has to do with the courses that fall under the dual credit program for high school students who, I agree, that's a wonderful program that could really give a young person a leg up on a career in beginning to do that. My concern is what some of the courses that are available in this dual credit program, and I'm just going to list some of them here. And I asked them to send me the actual listing as opposed to, say, basing it on hearsay. So we have, and these are available to high school students, human sexuality, deviant behavior, introduction to women's gender studies and social sciences, human potential, serial killers, and bluegrass music. I like bluegrass music. I don't know that that would qualify for a dual credit program. These are and I'm not intending today to necessarily put you on the spot, but this information has been made, I've been made aware of it. We have tax dollars that are being used in the dual credit program. In my opinion, these classes are not preparing students for workforce development. I'm going to make a statement, then I'm going to ask you to respond to it. I would like to see the community college system restructure what they're offering in terms of dual credit courses for students. I don't think these fit the bill, and I think there needs to be a pretty deep dive and evaluation there as to whether this is the course that we need to go. If folks want to take and pay at their own expense, ideological courses, they can do that. But I think when we're presenting a program that's designed to help students get a leg up and prepare them for college and for the workforce, that we need to seriously look at what's being offered. And I would encourage you all to do that as opposed to necessarily having us do the looking and start making the recommendations. So if you would comment on that, please.
Yes, of course. Dual credit is not my area of expertise, but I do agree with you that reviewing the offerings and better aligning them with, again, viable labor market opportunities and really helping to focus that career exposure up front would be a benefit to the system. I can commit to you that we will look into it. We will provide additional information. And should you all like to hear another presentation, we will have our subject matter experts in dual credit come in and prepare that for you all.
Thank you. I appreciate your comment.
You're very welcome.
Thank you all. I do have two questions. I've got two that have also asked. I'm cutting it off. I've got another group that's here to present and a group to talk. Senator Thomas, Representative Kulkarni, it's nothing directed personally at you, but we have two more, and I do have a time frame I've got to get to and out of here by the time frame. Representative Tackett Lafferty.
I appreciate that was the first I'd heard, that statement by Representative Weber. And I appreciate your response to that because I was going to elaborate and brag on your dual credit system. My son and some of his classmates are able to utilize, Big Sandy Healthcare. He is actually taking a criminal justice dual credit class because he thinks he wants to be a police officer. His mom, as the lawyer, of course, would like to see him take some of these classes to see whether he would like to go into the field of law enforcement or whether he'd maybe like to go into law school. And I think that him taking these classes early as a junior in high school at no cost to him, I think that's going to be a really big help on directing some of these kids as to where they want to go more efficiently and more economically. And I appreciate that system, but I also very much appreciate your response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jesse, I think you had mentioned, I don't need to see the slide or anything, but there was a slide in there where you were talking about employer partnerships and this sort of thing, and then you were basing it on 8 of the 16 schools replying. What's going on with those other 8? What's the problem with getting enough information from all of our facilities to be able to do this right?
I should have clarified. We had a timeline for this data collection. It has been a very intensive process, and we have one staff person who is aggregating all of that data on my team outside of our research team, and we had to give the colleges ample time to respond. I did want to share the preliminary results, but they have until the end of September to put forward that information where it will go to the Board of Regents. So we will have full compliance with those responses. What it required was really looking at, because many times these partnerships are with one faculty member who's been with the system for decades, and no one else is aware of the partnership, and that faculty member isn't aware that in Workforce Solutions, someone else from that company has been working with them on customized training, or someone else from a different division is sitting on an advisory committee. So it's been very intensive and hands-on. It's not as simple as simply reporting, and we had no structure to capture those partnerships. We're using Salesforce because we believe that these partnerships should be a benchmark of success for higher education institutions. But we will have all of that data, and we'll be happy to share it with you all by the end of September.
Perfect. Thank you. Jesse and Tanel, thank you so much for your presentation today. Look forward to continued conversations that we've had up here as we go forward towards the session. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Our last presentation for today is Local Area Vocational Education Centers, or also known as LAVEX. If those presenters would make their way to the table, please. Sure you all have done this before, but if you would, please introduce yourselves for the record, and you may proceed. Thank you.
Matt Call of Kentucky Department of Education.
Dr. Beth Hargis, Associate Commissioner, Office of Career and Technical Education.
Bo Matthews, Superintendent, Barron County Schools.
I'm Reagan Satterwhite. I'm the Career and
Just make sure you hit your microphone there to make it green.
Greener. I'm Reagan Satterwhite. I'm the Career and Technical Education Policy Advisor in the Office of Career and Technical Education.
Great. Thank you all so much. You may proceed.
Thank you. We appreciate all of the CTE discussion this morning and our partners in CTE. So we're also very happy to share the positive outcomes from last year's Career and Technical Education funding. We're going to move fairly quickly through our preamble because we want the majority of our time to be spent with you all hearing directly from the recipients of this. So to begin, as you can see, career and technical education is very relevant for Kentucky's students, high school students. Roughly 70% of all high school students participated in some form of career and technical education during the 21-22 school year. And likewise, CTE is aligned to post-secondary education, as well as providing over 138 career pathways that are aligned to both high demand and high wage employment opportunities within the Commonwealth. During the 21-22 school year, 20,696 industry certifications were earned by secondary students. And this is really a testament to the relevancy of these certificates. They are recommended by business and industry and approved by the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. Also, over 20,500 students successfully passed end-of-program assessments and 306 students earned the Tech Ready Apprentices for Career in Kentucky, or the TRAC certificate. And so these are just a few of the data points which demonstrate CTE as an integral part of Kentucky's economic development. Reagan?
First, before I begin to get into my slides, I do just want to echo Dr. Hargis's appreciation for the opportunity for our office to come in front of this committee. I think this is an excellent place to have this conversation. As career and technical education leaders in our state, it is our job to help schools connect education with employers so that our workforce and our student population can have better outcomes. All education should be career education. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. I dream not about their ACT score or about what college they are going to get into. All those are very important. My dream for them is that they land successful careers that provide for their family. And so we appreciate the support of this committee and, again, appreciate the opportunity to be here. Very quickly, again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to go through a couple of slides. The first, brief background about how far we've come with our career and technical education funding. Prior to the 2022 budget, there were several funding issues with career and technical education. The first is that there was not adequate funding for career and technical education. Funding for CTE only provided for our state-operated centers and certain local area vocational education centers. It did not provide for funding for 2/3 of the career and technical education that was occurring in our Commonwealth. There was no funding for comprehensive high schools. That lack of adequate funding also caused inequities in the instruction that students were receiving based on the location of where they were in that same CTE pathway. There was also not enough funding to often bring our classrooms up to business and industry standard with the equipment, which we know is so important as we keep up with an ever-changing workforce. Two extensive funding reports, one by the Southern Regional Education Board and another by Thomas P. Miller Associates, provided several recommendations about how we could improve the quality of our funding for career and technical education in the Commonwealth. The first bullet has been accomplished. Thanks to the historic investment in CTE by the Kentucky General Assembly in the 2022 budget, so thank you to this body, many of these recommendations have been accomplished or are amid considerable progress. The first was accomplished with the dollar amount that was provided to CTE in 2022. That has allowed us to fund all of our programs. Other recommendation, providing funding for equipment purchases and maintaining or upgrading current equipment, is among considerable progress. And we are also working to consider additional per pupil funding and codify a formula that is prioritized to occupational needs and incentivizes high-quality career and technical education. And we'll share a little bit more about that with you as we close our presentation. Again, thank you to this body. The 2022 state budget provided an increase of $58 million to secondary career and technical education. That allowed us from going from 96 locations, our state-operated centers and our LAVEX, to being able to fund 316 locations in the state, which we're happy to say is all locations, secondary locations where CTE programming was occurring. For the first time ever, every CTE student in the Commonwealth received funding. This sent a message to our superintendents, our parents, our teachers, our students, and our workforce that their legislators support them. I don't have a slide for this, but I do want to mention, as we're here to talk about LAVEX, we've had conversations of, do we need the term LAVEC anymore? LAVEC was necessary when only schools that had 5 or more career and technical education programs were eligible to receive funding. Now that all schools are eligible to receive funding if they meet the criteria of a federal pathway, maybe we can go away from that term and just start calling this CTE funding. And so we would welcome this body's thoughts on that going forward.
Anytime we can reduce acronyms in state government, I'm all for it. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Matt Coliff.
So we wanted to share with you a little bit about what the money's done because we know that results matter. And so we did a survey of teachers over the past 6 months or so to see what funding had done and what it enabled to happen in classrooms. And we want to share just a few examples with you. From McCreary County, about as rural as you can get, one of the poorest counties in the nation we know, allows students to see how to run equipment that was actually used in industry. And so doing things that were industry specific, not things that were 50 years old or 100 years old, but actually to do that and run equipment that was modern. Hopkins County in the west, able to modify instruction to better model a simulated workforce. You've heard that again and again this morning, but the need to be able to do things that are relevant, that are applicable, to see that. We've heard about nurses and blood again and again, and so this has enabled us to buy things like CPR mannequins so students can actually get those experiences. LaRue County, I didn't have to worry about materials for a lesson. We forget how much consumable materials matter, but in a program like welding or plumbing or electricity, if you've bought a roll of wire at Lowe's in the last year, you know that costs a lot of money. And then we multiply that by 20 or 30 students in a classroom times 180 days. It takes a lot of consumables to do that. Fayette County, again, access to equipment and learners and those sort of things, and then an unknown how to show students a process that local industry had requested. And so they were able to take what industry had asked for and actually show them and do that, not reflected in the slides, but lots of field trips, a lot of industry interaction. We know that students, the first time they're in a workplace often is when we take them from a CTE program and take them to, I'm from Rockcastle County, when those students go from Rockcastle County High School to Heister Yale, and they actually see the inside of that factory and they say, here's a career opportunity for me. So this funding has had a huge impact on that. I'll introduce Bo Matthews to tell you what Barron County has done with part of their funding this year.
Good morning, Chairman Wise, Senator Wilson, Representative Jackson. Good to see you again. Haven't had the pleasure of meeting the rest, but I want to thank you all for your call to service and answering that call here in the Commonwealth. I want to say thank you, first of all, for the CTE funding. I know you have a monumental task to put together a new state budget, and we're here today, my good friend Paul Mullins from 2 districts now, here to talk about the impact of what you all have been a part of. So I'm going to give you a Barron County version, drill down to exactly what these funds have done for our students and their futures. So a little bit about Barron County. We have 5,200 students in preschool through 12. We are very much an agrarian related county. We do have manufacturing, but Barron County leads the state in beef cows and dairy cows. We're ahead of Pulaski, Madison, etc., and I know you all are from all around the state. Barron County leads the state in number of farms. That might surprise you, followed by Warren County, Pulaski, Shelby, and Nelson. There are 36 Barron County pathways, and that's an important term that we hear a lot now in education, that are in Barron County schools that we're fiercely proud of. And last year we had 1,209 active student enrollments in CTE courses. So if you look at the graphic there, I'm going to attempt to touch each of those 3 themes with my comments about Barron County and CTE funding. So let's touch equity. CTE funding allowed us to touch all pathways, and I'm emphasizing all, and I appreciate your comments, Reagan. Prior years, we just had to prioritize the available funds to only just a few. Our local mission is to provide opportunities for all students. This funding allowed us for modernization and upgrades to address all areas. We used to have floppy disk, a story that was told in our district, but now we're talking about upgrades that take us from the old home ec kitchen to the modern day culinary kitchen. We maximize the impact by finding unique ways and collaborations between programs, pathways, and partners in Barron County. One of the most unique collaborations is with agriculture and family consumer sciences. Dr. Hargis, and thank you again for your invitation today, and other staff from Frankfort have heard and seen our projects, and last year we had student enrollments in agriculture of 353 students at our high school and 228 in family consumer sciences. I'll get out of some of the facts here in just a moment, but 55% of those students enrolled in ag pathways were female in 2023. 54% of students enrolled in ag pathways were economically disadvantaged. 35% of students enrolled in culinary and food service pathways were male. 61% of students enrolled in culinary and food service pathways were economically disadvantaged. Additional funding, and I'm going to impact. Additional funding allowed us to approach enhancing pathways by equipment and supply upgrades, increasing opportunities to gain industry certifications, modernize programs to better align with local and national trends. So here's some details about where did these dollars go that trickled down into Barron County. In business, $63,000 upgraded all student workstations. IT help desk, $16,000 in equipment and parts to build and rebuild computers, cable analyzer for CAT and fiber testing to prepare for industry certification and wiring. Computer science, $8,000 for upgrades in equipment and supplies for student projects and intro programming and AP computer science. Biomed, $15,000 for Project Lead the Way equipment, dissection labs, field trip for pathway completers and medical schools and other post-secondary. JROTC, $11,000 for equipment to travel and launching the new Raider program. EDU, $12,000 for Educators Rising competition, part of our Grow Our Own efforts to address educator shortage. Culinary, $30,000 in supplies and equipment for culinary kitchen, demonstration TV and camera system to aid in students seeing culinary process and equipment usage. Think of the cooking shows. Diesel, $100,000, diesel curriculum, supplies and equipment for our program. Early childhood, $30,000, supplies and equipment, online curriculum, pediatric first aid, CPR to assist with certification and job placement. Engineering, $19,000, training for certification exams, SIM, VEX, launch of a robotics team, and inaugural competition and resupply some of our aging equipment. Ag, $176,000 in equipment and supplies for floral design, welding equipment and supplies, plasma CNC table, computer to control vet science and equine, CDE travel, tractor, livestock, handling system, and scales. I'm going fast, but I'll slow down in a moment. Collaboration. The secret to our success in Barron County has been through collaboration, partnerships, and innovation. We synergize around community need and outlook, finding innovative ways to solve the problems we're all facing. Between the pathways, ag, and culinary, with community, ag extension office, cattlemen's association, local meat processors, and with state universities, the upgrades to our equipment that the CTE funds has allowed us to partner with our local board construction projects to create facilities that are well preparing our students for decades to come and produce agricultural employment for our students and community. My last few points. This completes the concept of farm to table. Students can learn and experience all aspects of livestock production, all the way to retail cuts of meat, feed efficiency to food quality. Projected trends in the high demand for sale, food options, food scientists, food animal producers, high school students transitioning into college and into the workforce will leave BCHS with significant familiarity and experience related to food, meats, and industry. Community collaborations. As we, Barron County High School, focus more on this industry, the door is open wider to community partnerships, internships, co-op opportunities, collaborative events, such as the Hog Roast. Many local and regional industry sectors have great confidence in Barron County High School students, and our goal is to nurture and enhance that confidence in regard to the agricultural sector. As the ag program migrates further in this direction, the opportunity to train and utilize cutting-edge technology arises. As an example, carcass quality, ultrasounding for marbling, back fat content, and ribeye areas. Students will be trained to gain experience using industry and commercially accepted slaughter and processing equipment. State-of-the-art students will gain insight into USDA rules, regulations, and expectations. Livestock portion of the facility will be a tremendous asset to the students in the community, working, processing, sorting, weighing, health care of animals, etc. This portion of the facility will also allow for the implementation and experiences related to veterinarian medicine. Kentucky and the United States are both currently facing a shortage of large animal veterinarians. Students' exposure to agriculture, sales, and marketing, as well as public relations, will drastically increase. Storefront, tour groups, demonstrations, clinics, community education opportunities, etc. Many student-led opportunities will be incubated. So I'm wrapping up here. Our goals and mission are mighty yet simple. We want to offer high school students the most unique livestock production, food science, and meat processing program in the United States. So, most recent data shared with KWEB projects employment growth in the food processing industry to be approximately 28,000 by 2030. Likewise, Kentucky Stats Occupational Outlook estimates an additional 27,000 jobs in food preparation and serving related occupations. Last year, we marked 310 post-secondary ready. That's 93% of our students, and of those, 281 career ready, 84% at Barron County High School. As you put together your state budget, please know that CTE funding impacts our kids. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Paul Mullins from Elizabethtown Independent Schools to present on what they've done. And he's also been at Logan County, so he'll give you a little bit of both.
Yeah, I'm currently in Logan through August 31st, so we'll start with Logan County. But before I get started, I want to thank Chairman Wise and the Joint Committee here having us today. I want to thank my current Senator Wilson. I'll be with you for a couple more weeks, and a couple of folks that I've ran across in my career, Representative Jackson and Representative Branscombe. Always a pleasure to see you all as well, and everyone on the committee. First of all, very appreciative, and both Elizabethtown Independent with 2,500 students and Logan County Schools with 3,500 students. We are both districts are extremely appreciative of the record funding for career technical education or LAVEC funding for both school districts. And as I look at some things I want to talk about is number one is in Logan County, we always talk about our profile of success, which was developed in cooperation with our community, business leaders, political leaders, teachers, students, parents, and what they say is extremely important as we graduate students from Logan County High School, which are collaborators, global citizens, empowered learners, communicators, and innovators. Those 5 bullet points are all addressed in career and technical education and the funding that you all made available to all the schools across the Commonwealth. And I am appreciative of the fact that it is all schools. The other thing is that one thing I learned a long time ago in working with a few years back with former Commissioner David Horseman was in career and technical education, someone coming from a high school background of a traditional high school approach, that you would enter a career, you enter a pathway, and where they're going to be whatever it may be. But in every pathway, there are tons of learning opportunities and tons of job opportunities for students. And that's one thing that I think when we open doors and a student goes a certain direction, maybe they end up at the goal that they start with, or maybe they stop somewhere along the way, or maybe they, as we've heard multiple times today, get a little bit down that pathway and decide to go another direction. But opening doors and creating opportunities for all students is extremely important, and I do think the funding that you all made available has done that and is doing that. So I'll hit a few high points from Logan County at first. Business and FBLA, they purchase quality, high-quality camera equipment and editing equipment, and what I think is cool about that is that they partner with Logan County Tourism and help Logan County Tourism with their website. Then they turned around and they took the editing piece of the software that they bought in the cameras, and they created a video piece that was promoting Logan County. So not only are they learning skills that are applicable as they move forward, they're also learning and taking skills and giving back to their community, which is one of the things that we strive for in Logan County. The equipment has offered students valuable hands-on experience and with industry standard technology. I think that's important. It's been addressed several times today. Our students need to be using the same equipment whether they're at an ATC or whether they're in a high school, wherever they're at, they need to use the same equipment. It makes the transition better, and the workforce, I know the businesses appreciate that. Our family consumer science part, one of the things we're doing is we're expanding that from a traditional family consumer science program to one that is a hybrid program that is both residential and commercial. We may never have enough commercial students to create those pathways, so by having a split program at our high school, that has allowed our students to have more opportunity and more choice. Of course, that helps with hands-on experience, culinary techniques, kitchen organization, all the real-world skills that they need moving forward. In our ag program, it's, the funding has allowed us not only to provide more trips and things that they can go on where they can meet and grow as young men and young women, it's also allowed us to expand our program. You're going to see in Logan County in a new greenhouse that's coming in a update, you're going to see a floral design cooler and classroom. So not only are you going to have the traditional sale that happens in the spring of plants, but now you're going to expand that into floral design and cooler in the classroom. To enhance the animal science curriculum, we purchased study resources. A lot of times study resources and additional resources for the classrooms were needed and weren't always there. And like Mr. Matthews said, sometimes we had to pick and choose from one year to the next how we could provide those. And the LAVEC funding also helped with 30 student registrations to FFA convention, but also 70% of our students passed the animal science EOP, which is 20% above the state average. Also, it allows us to partner our FFA classes with Murray State, so we had several students that did that. Also, we added 6 brand new MIG and TIG welders in the FFA program. For some of our students, they don't go to the ATC, so they'll be at the high school all day. And that is and of course in Logan County with our advanced manufacturing, with Logan Aluminum and with, I don't know if I mentioned vendors or not, H&H Sheet Metal, ProFab. We have a lot of advanced manufacturing in Logan County, and anytime we can get our students using MIG and TIG welders at an earlier age, it better prepares them 2 things for the world they're going into, but also it provides them the opportunity to be successful in our community and maybe not have to leave. Our business program, our DECA program, and this is something that happened both in Elizabethtown and in Logan County, is student-ran businesses. And those businesses in Logan County, it's called Cougar Inc., and they run 9 separate businesses, and that is a direct result of this funding. In Elizabethtown, they did a similar thing. It was more of a pep store. They sold T-shirts and sweatshirts and created those, but that was a result of that. Also in Elizabethtown, they were able to create an engineer lab with 3D printers, CNC machines, heat presses, a glow forge, a robotic arm, and additional Project Lead the Way, which is a STEM program. All these opportunities for students were made available because of the additional funding by the General Assembly. And I want to say we're very appreciative of that. I know we hit at 100 miles an hour. I'll be willing to answer any questions.
We'll really briefly share our future funding goals and then open it up for questions. We want to continue to build on the historic investment that you all made in 2022 to sustain this adequate funding for these programs. We want to create an equitable funding system. We've been working on that for the past several months and are about ready to present that so that we can fund all CTE programs across the state. We want to create an equitable funding system that's all students. I'm becoming famous for saying we want a welding student to be a welding student regardless of where they go to school and what their opportunity is. So that's going to be my bumper sticker, I suppose. And then we want to incentivize schools to do the right things for students in relation to CTE. So part of our plan is some of it will be based simply on numbers, but some of it will be based on incentives for doing things that we know that work, like work-based learning, that get students engaged with employers early in the process. So we want to make sure that as we use the funding, not only to do good things, but also to lead folks to do good things long term. And with that, we'll open it up for questions or comments.
Thank you all so much. Superintendents, thank you all for highlighting what's going on in your districts. I'm sure every one of us up here could also talk about high schools or schools in our districts that are doing great work such as you all. And one of the things of my goal when I left as chairman of Senate Education over to this committee is to focus on issues such as this. And I thank you also for giving us a pat on the back, because I can't tell you how many times you're out in the state and people say, well, why aren't we doing enough for career technical education? A lot of people don't know what we have done. So thank you. And I do think it's a marketing that we need to also educate the general public out there to know how much we have invested and we're getting back that return on investment that you all are doing. You're being innovative. You're partnering with your local industry. So thank each and every one of you. We have a couple questions or comments. Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank this distinguished panel for your presentation. I've seen this firsthand. I was in education for 32 years, so it's very beneficial, and I appreciate everything that you do. Mr. Matthews, the two superintendents, I tried to think of a trick question, but I thought, well, that wouldn't be very nice. So, but I just want to say a couple things to you all. Mr. Matthews, 13 years as superintendent at Barron County High School. That's what we call a dinosaur anymore. If you stay, I think the average stay is 3 years for a superintendent. Nowadays, he's been there for 13. I assume Representative Riley and I's job performance is what helped keep you in that job for all those years. So, yeah, you're welcome. But thank you for what you have done for Barron County High School and Barron County school system. Paul, thanks again for your work. Known Paul through coaching and education for probably 25 years, and spent probably 10 good years at Logan County and now going on to Elizabethtown High School. But these are two of 171 superintendents in the state of Kentucky, and I think you see what they do for their communities and the others do the same. But sometimes that's a job that's not very appreciated, but know that I appreciate it, and a lot of people I'm sure on this committee appreciate what you do. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly appreciate Beth and Reagan bringing this presentation to us. It's so great to see, you know, what the money was appropriated for and actually hear what it was accomplishing, and especially two superintendents that I know pretty well. I think, Bo, you've been superintendent about as long as I've been a senator in Barron County, and that's my next door neighbor, and I've actually toured over there, toured the school, and seen a lot of great things happen, and boy, presentation today was awesome. This is like seeing a dream come true for me over the last 13 years, to see our schools actually training kids for jobs that they're going to take when they get out. And so, Paul, we are sorry to lose you in Logan County, that I just picked it up and now, you know, but certainly I remember touring the state-of-the-art CTE facility that you built over there, and I was blown away that it was there in Logan County. But your vision and, you know, you accomplished that and certainly have been a blessing to Logan County schools. And I know you're going to be a blessing. You know, our loss is their gain in Elizabethtown, but I guess you're kind of going back to your roots up there is what I hear.
Absolutely. My wife and I both graduated from Elizabethtown High School, and it's where I started my career almost 30 years ago.
Yep. So wish you well up there, and certainly they're going to gain a great superintendent. But I want to emphasize the fact that these guys are really doing the work because we're growing our own. And in the 10-county region of which they are part of, there are 8,000 open jobs that people don't have the skills to fill. And, Bo, I appreciate agriculture a lot. My son's a farmer. And so for me, that's very, very important. I think we're losing a lot of that, but it's good to see the kids getting into that too as well, especially the ladies. And so I want to thank you guys for your presentation today and commend you for that, and look forward to what you do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wilson. Beth, Reagan, and Matt, thank you also for today. Thanks for the presentation. We look forward as we go into the session working with you all. Seeing no further issues for today, I have a motion for adjournment. So move. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.